Muscleheads on a warpath, performance-enhancing drugs, and adoring fans. We're not talking about professional sports. This is Crackdown. Crackdown is a 2019 open-world sci-fi third-person action shooter. It was developed by Sumo Studios and published by Xbox Game Studios. People have been eagerly awaiting this game's release since it was announced in June 2014. Yes, that long ago. Fast forward 4.5 years, and it's finally out. So in Crackdown 3, you play as a superpowered law enforcement officer out to stop a nefarious corporation trying to take over the world. You know, normal cop shit. Except on this mission, Terry Crews will be joining you in battle. So was Crackdown 3 worth the wait? Have the reviews so far been unfair? Or is the game a victim of unrealistic expectations accumulated over years of development hell? So as you guys know, when I talk about games, I talk about the good, the bad, and then I give you my score. That being said, let's talk about Crackdown 3's goodness. The campaign's natural progression is achieved through the Skills for Kills system. I love the Skills for Kills system. I think it's a blast. Basically, what you do affects how your player grows, both physically and ability-wise. So your skinny character at the beginning of the game with a 2-inch vertical slowly morphs into this jacked super soldier who can jump over skyscrapers by the end of it. But to be more specific with the Skills for Kills system, say you blow up stuff a lot. When you blow shit up, then you get better at explosives. If you hit things a lot, if you pick up things and throw them at people a lot, you get stronger. If you shoot at things a lot, your aim gets better and you unlock more abilities to make it easier to shoot stuff. And of course, there are the agility orbs, which are probably one of the funnest things in the game. There's these green orbs that are scattered all over the world, up in these high places, you know, in hard to reach places, all over the map. And the more of these orbs you collect, the faster you move, the higher you can jump, the more abilities you unlock, like a triple jump and a double dash and a bunch of other stuff. It's really cool. Seeing as this is an open world game, the map size is actually a pretty nice change of pace compared to a lot of the other open world games that have come out recently. Honestly, I get really tired of these huge open world maps that are just packed with a bunch of filler and a few meaningful things to do. And of course, the main point of this open world is running around and taking out the bad guys. And to do that, you have nearly 40 guns, grenades, and different types of gear that you can use to kill these bad guys. You can also unlock 3 specialty cars that the agents use. You have this really fast race car type thing, you've got a dune buggy, and then you've got a tank. And you can actually transform from one to the other on the fly. So while you're driving, you can ram cars with a really fast race car. If you want to climb up a wall, you switch to the dune buggy. And if while you're climbing up that wall, you come across a big mech or something like that, you can switch to the tank and blow it to hell. And on top of those 3 agency cars, you can unlock every single other car in the game. Once you've driven them, you have them in your inventory. So anytime you go to one of your little spots where you can get your ammo and your guns and all that stuff, you can also get a vehicle and you can choose whatever one you want. So it can be a big semi, it can be a little city car, it can be whatever you want it to be. But honestly, the movement in the game outside of the vehicles is the real joy and point of this game, especially as you unlock more and more abilities. Jumping from one building to another over this huge abyss below your feet while dodging rockets is really fun, it's really exciting, and there's not really anything in any other game that feels like this. You can also use all of these great movement mechanics during combat. Combat is chaotic and explosive. All of the great particle effects that happen during combat make it really cool, and it gives it a punchy, visceral feel. It doesn't matter if you're shooting somebody, crushing them with an object that you've thrown, running up and punching them in the face, punching them off of a building, whatever. It looks and feels great when you are in combat. And there is a great variety to the things that you will be killing. There are so many enemies, that keep things fresh and varied, and they get harder and harder as you progress in strength. They'll add more and more different enemy types, down from grunts to drones to these giant mechs and even like fighter type jets. The whole world is built for movement, clarity, and style, with everything from these big vistas where you can see these huge views all the way off across the map to these little neon-drenched open-air dance floors where there's all these people dancing. All the different bosses that you'll be fighting in the game have a really cool look. They have great backstories and unique personalities, which you learn about them through beautifully stylized animated cutscenes. The gameplay progression is basically the same thing as you find in Ghost Recon. You go to different areas, you take out all the different businesses and objectives in that area, you get the attention of the lieutenants, and then you take them out. And eventually, after you take all the lieutenants out in that area, or in that certain industry type, you have to face their bosses. And then once you beat those bosses, you finally get to the main enemy, who is the CEO of this evil corporation. A lot of the level design for the bosses is pretty great. There's multi-tiered combat engagements where you start on one level, then you have to make your way up to another and then to another, to where you're finally in these closed off claustrophobic areas. The actual boss battles on higher skill levels can be pretty tough because they throw a lot of stuff at you. I'm not just talking about their munitions and everything else, they also bring out little characters to support them that can really distract you from the fight and make the boss battles take longer. The boss battles also help break up the loop of go here and kill this, go here and unlock this, go here, jump up there, turn this off. The gameplay and the vibe of Crackdown 3 is all about just having fun and kicking ass and traversing this amazing map. Everywhere you go on the map, you will run into bad guys or objectives. And they all have a theme. Some of them have a toxic waste theme, some of them have a military law enforcement vibe, and some of them have a scientific theme. And each of those themes also has specific subgroups of bad guys. Having Terry Crews star in the game was really cool, especially in the opening scene, which has a little surprise for you. You're definitely not going to expect what happens, and I think it's a cool opening. The campaign will take you around 2 days, which is a nice change of pace again from these other open world games, which are taking around like 60 to 100 hours. And not everybody has that kind of time, especially me when I have to do, movie reviews, TV reviews, game reviews, and have an actual life outside of work. The whole point of this game is to make you feel like a badass, and it nails that. And something I really enjoyed about all the guns, gadgets, and grenades is finding the right loadout for your playstyle. It'll take you a little bit, but once you find it, you can really start kicking some ass in this game. All across the map, you'll find these things called propaganda towers. They're really cool objectives. They're basically platforming sections where you have to make it from the bottom all the way to the top to stop these holographic messages that are just spewing out this really toxic propaganda that's messing with the people's minds. And one of the things that's really cool about the propaganda towers is as you unlock more abilities, you can scale them in completely different ways than what is intended. So it's basically up to your creativity and your finesse with the movement system. The entire time I played the game, the frame rate was solid. I never had any frame rate issues at all. I never had one bug or glitch. It never crashed on me. As far as stability, this game is rock solid. And again, like I said, just getting orbs of the different types and leveling up your character and watching that explosion when that next level happens, seeing what your new ability is just really addictive and fun. Completionists will really love this game as there are a lot of things to do and find, and they're not scattered across some huge, desolate, flat map. And one of the things that's great about this game too is you can play it on Xbox Game Pass. So for $10 a month, if you have Games Pass, you can just jump on there and play this game, finish the campaign, and you're good to go. So those are all the things that I thought were great about Crackdown 3, but let's get into the Crackdown badness. While the bosses have cool stories and personalities, the actual boss fights usually boil down to fighting a mech that takes the cheap route of surrounding you with countless grunts. Plus, after their intro, you never actually see the bosses again until that boss fight. You get some kind of a little final cutscene with them, but that's it. You're not even involved. You maybe get a few audio cues from them here and there, but it's kind of frustrating. They definitely could have done more with these bosses because you can tell they put a lot of thought into them, how they look, how they sound, what they do. You just don't actually interact with them enough. While the game world is colorful and clean and fun to traverse, it is a bit sparsely populated, especially in certain areas. But what the map lacks in people, it makes up for in busy work. There are so many little side quests, but the thing is, they're not side quests. They're the main objectives of the game. There's no real story campaign type levels here. There's no objectives. You gotta go here and meet this person, find out something you're supposed to get, then go here, unlock something, and it leads you to this thing, and then the big battle. It's just go here, kill this, go there, kill this, go here, kill this. Oh, the lieutenant noticed and they're pissed off. Now they're coming to fight you. Time to kill them. It gets really repetitive towards the middle of the game, and it basically stays that way up until you start fighting the bigger bosses and you unlock those really cool different abilities that let you do a lot more around the map. Speaking of sparse, Terry Crews is barely in the game. They really hyped him up being in the game, and of course you're going to play as Terry Crews, but all you get is a cutscene at the beginning, a bunch of little quips here and there throughout the game, and that's it. Even the final story cutscene, all he does is walk through the frame. He doesn't talk or anything. Sure, you get to look like Terry Crews and see what he looked like before he was jacked and then what he looks like now, but you don't really get to be him. It's just a skin. And that's pretty disappointing. Come on, Sumo, I wanted more Terry Crews in my Crackdown 3. While the vehicles look really cool, the physics and the mechanics, especially for the agency vehicles, are clunky, they're too floaty, they're easily destroyed, you're definitely better off on foot, and that's where the real fun is at anyway. When it comes to the mechanics of the game, whether it be, combat or the objectives or the movement, it is fun, but it definitely gets repetitive and it just feels undercooked, like they had more in mind, but they didn't quite get to it. The multiplayer mode is separate, and to be honest, I didn't even bother because the whole point of this game to me was the campaign. That's why people play Crackdown. It's for the campaign, going around collecting the orbs, blowing stuff up, killing the bad guys, and it is what it is, so that's what I did. Maybe later on I'll do like a let's play for the multiplayer to see how it is, but that's pretty much it. The radio chatter that you get from the two people that are talking to you throughout the game can be really repetitive. And when you go near those microphones, it cues this audio message that you probably already heard the first time you went through that. So every time you're sitting there traversing the map, you hear the same stuff over and over. And while you're traversing the map, you'll see these different races and stunts and things that you can do. They don't really matter. You don't need to do them to unlock stuff. And a lot of times they're not really worth the hassle for the amount of orbs that you get to finish them. But I did do a lot of the rooftop races, the foot races, because they were already on the way to different objectives or they were just in my area and I just felt like doing them. I got gold on every single one almost the first time, except for I think one where I fell down, which was my bad. And those rooftop races can be fun and a little bit thrilling depending on which one you're doing because of the movement mechanics in the game. And as you're traversing the map, you're going to notice that the textures and the world itself are a little bit bland. There definitely could have been more packed in there, more detail. I'm going to be honest, I didn't mind so much because, after playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and I had to ride the horse 20 minutes to get to a mission that takes me 2 minutes to finish, and then I got to ride another 20 minutes back to my camp. This felt like a breath of fresh air and it was really fun and fast-paced and a nice change. Something that won't change though is the way that you fight the bad guys. Get ready to use the lock-on with the left trigger, strafe to the side or jump to the side with your rocket pack and pull that right trigger a lot. That's basically what you'll be doing for most of the combat. Now, there are different things that you can do to vary up how you're fighting and what you're fighting and all that kind of stuff. And it does add some variety, picking things up or shooting them or blowing them up or using one of the things that, gives you extra ammo or extra life so you can kind of sit there and face off against them. So I gotta be honest, as limited as the combat is, it still really is fun. The game could have been so much more than what it is. It feels like a solid foundation for something bigger in development. Unfortunately, that's all this game is and all it will be. It's a foundation for something that could have been bigger. All in all, the game is rock solid when it comes to the way that it runs. Like I said, I had no frame rate drops. I didn't have any bugs or crashes at all the entire time I played. It definitely could have been a lot more than what it was, and I think that if I had paid $60 for it, I'd be very pissed off right now. But due to the fact that I played it on Xbox Games Pass for $10 a month, it's a great deal. But it is a very basic game. It is dumb fun at its finest, or you could say it's mediocrity at its best. It's a pretty damn fun agility testing bullet hell-like shooter. But as much as I hate to say it, that's not enough to make up for all the issues that could have been corrected if they'd given the game a little more time or they had maybe gone in a different direction. That being said, what is my score? Drum roll, please. 6 out of 10.